Well, let me ask y'all this. How about The Little Mermaid on May 26th?
Something
I
weird going on with that movie.
I have been saying that this is going to be, and y'all stick with me on this. I'm going to explain. If you have not heard me talk about this before, hang on. Again, I try to be as fair and as pragmatic as possible when it comes to my analysis on where I think these movies are going. Hang tight. Let me talk about it. But Little Mermaid, let me get y'all's thoughts on this because I think this is the sleeper hit for Disney this year.
Well, I'd put an 80% chance on that. I'm with you 80% of the way, right? This is like it's like meteorology. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but we can do a probability. So I'm mostly there, but there's something strange going on with this movie and the way that Disney's acting about it. The reason being, they had that trailer ready to go for the Super Bowl. They yanked it, and they put in the Disney 100 advertisement instead, which, by the way, was a phenomenal hit for the company. And probably because they got away from everything divisive. It's one of the highest ranked Super Bowl ads of all time. So kudos to Disney for that. Give them credit where credit is due. The other strange thing, though, is that the Little Mermaid trailer, the actual trailer, has leaked. It's out there. If people want to find it, you'll be able to find it. But the full trailer is sitting there in reserve, and it's ready to go, and it's leaked. It doesn't look good. And rather than put that trailer out now, given that it's leaked and it's out and about, Disney released a little teaser, and that didn't look good. The soundtrack, I think, could be what lifts this up. They're going with the original soundtrack. But I don't know. There's just something odd the way Disney is handling this film versus what I was expecting. I would expect this already to be ramping up on the market spin, and it's not there, and I don't understand it yet.
That's true.
Undoomed?
I don't know. I mean, it's a kids movie, and I have no way to relate to it. I'm not interested. I'm not going to see it. So I don't know how to relate to it.
Well, these are my thoughts on this. And I've been saying this for a while, and I get the fact that Disney decided to, Little Mermaid, hashtag Little Mermaid too white, right?
Right.
And that's where we are. So they recast this deliberately to, by the left's own interpretation of things and what they have set up as the gamut for how to measure these things, this is cultural appropriation, right? So they've taken a traditionally, in this case, white character, a Nordic character of the Little Mermaid, and then culturally appropriated it to make it a person of color.
Right.
Now, in and of itself, is there anything necessarily wrong with that? No. I don't care. It's a mermaid.
Right.
But I want to apply the left's logic to when they do stuff like this, which makes it all the more funny. Here's the thing. Throwing all of that out of the window for a moment, and this is what I keep trying to remind folks. And again, pragmatism here. I'm looking at money and numbers and math. What made the first Little Mermaid movie from 1989 or 90, whenever it was?
89.
What made that so successful? Was it the movie itself? Or was it that Alan Menken score, that Broadway score?
Well,
I mean, that was certainly
nailed it.
Yeah, that's certainly a big part of it.
Yeah.
But Valiant, here's something to know about this.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right; they are bringing the original soundtrack back for the most part. But and this is what I don't see this as a negative per se. But they're bringing Lin-Manuel Miranda in. He's done 4 brand new songs that we haven't heard yet. How much of the screen time do those 4 songs get versus the original soundtrack? And then when you do a Lin-Manuel Miranda, sometimes you get a Moana, sometimes you get an Encanto, but sometimes you get Mary Poppins or you get In the Heights. His track record is all over the place. He's either very, very successful or it's crap. And he's such a strange actor, strange composer, strange writer for that reason.
And you're right. You're right. We don't know yet, but okay.
I think probably, I mean, people with children are going to go see it. So that's why it's so hard for me to sort of appreciate or estimate how successful that's going to be, because it's just, I don't have kids.
So let me tell you where my 80-20 is at, Undoomed. And you see if you, so my 80% is going right along with Valiant, right along this traditional viewpoint of it's a kid's movie from Disney, so therefore win. Like it's that simple. My 20% comes from the way Disney is handling it, but also that Disney with family films, they've come up with nada lately. Strange World, flop. Lightyear, flop. Turning Red, straight to streaming. Encanto, flop at the box office, saved on streaming. And so I don't know what to do with this anymore. Like, I don't know what the backlash level is. Will there be a backlash? And I don't know what level of woke is in the water with this thing. How much woke's in the water? Did they put, I mean, is it going to be more? Is it going to be less? Are we going to get fists up in the air from the fish? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I see people in the chat talking about like the animation and did things, and Darth Scipio. I agree with you. The animation was fantastic on that film. But again, from the money side, let me tell you where The Little Mermaid made its nut, where it made the money, and where it has been a sustained success since then. It was the Broadway score. It was little girls repeating and replaying and singing for 30 years after that film, 40 years almost at this point. 30 years at this point. A whole new world and all this. Look at the Disney rides, the Disney attractions. That is where that came in. That's what launched the renaissance of Disney with Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and all this other kind of stuff was Menken and Company when they brought in and did this. If this movie follows, and this is the point, if this movie follows the same historical trajectory, if they use that same business pattern to come in and reignite that initial flame that made that first movie in 1990 a big success, if they lean hard onto that, moms who were kids, little girls, when that movie came out, who are now mommies of their own, now mommies with little 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, 9, 10-year-old, 12-year-old girls now, as many of them are going to bring their little girls back to that over and over and over.
Oh, yeah, that viewership is guaranteed.
Exactly.
Unless they piss the mommies off.
Sure, but here's another thing to consider, though, is like, what were the numbers on the other live-action conversions they've done?
Well, for the most part, good, because they keep doing it. But some have been abysmal, like Dumbo. I mean, that was horrible.
Okay, but
artistically and financially. Okay,
great point. Undoomed, great point, Pro. That's an excellent. I've almost forgot to bring that up. I'm glad you guys did. Let's talk about the variances of this. When Beauty and the Beast, the live action version of that came out, and no, I could not stand what the digital vocal artifacting and all the crap they did with Emma Watson's voice. But the point is that they kept the original Broadway score for that film. That movie did $1.5 billion. That movie was gangbusters. Made a ton of money.
Right.
The Aladdin remake with Will Smith did exceptionally well compared to its budget.
This was pre-slap.
Yeah.
Pre-slap Smith.
Pre-slap Smith, right? Made a bunch of money. What are the movies that they made from Disney musicals from the 90s that bombed hard?
What about Lion King?
Lion King was huge because
Lion
of China.
King was huge.
That was huge.
Ate that up.
Lion King was huge.
Okay.
That was huge. Again, they stuck to the Broadway concept. What movie was a dumpster fire for them with a musical remake? And I don't want to hear the COVID excuses. Mulan. Why?
Oh, yeah.
Why was Mulan a dumpster fire?
I hope Cosmic Karma. I hope filming next to concentration camps will do that to you.
That too. They stripped.
Good point.
They stripped the entire heart and soul out of that film. There was They took all the Broadway music out. They took all the music out. It was gone.
Co-writing it with the CCP will do that.
Exactly.
I'm not being silly. They did. They actually it had to be approved by the CCP. And those of you who don't know those initials, just go look it up.
Chinese Communist Party. We can say that here.
Oh, he said
that's
it.
fine.
He
I said
said
it. But no, the point is that Little Mermaid looks a lot more like the Beauty and the Beast and the Lion King type remakes versus Mulan. Mulan was absolutely that was whoever came up with that idea and said, let's take the music out and just make it a straight, I mean, cookie cutter. That was awful. I mean, whoever did that should be fired and never work in the industry again. That was one of the biggest blunders I've ever seen in my life in terms of cinematic movie making. And I don't care the fact that it was, well, we had, Disney decided to relegate it only to Disney Plus. It doesn't matter. If they had put that thing out in the theaters, it would have failed its ass off. Pardon my French.
So,
it would have
let's run through
failed.
these.
Yeah.
Let's run through these remakes real quick because we've hit some of the high ones. There's also some low ones, and there's some in the middle. But they've redone the Jungle Book already. They've redone Pete's Dragon. They've redone Cinderella.
Yep.
They've
Cinderella wasn't a musical, so
right. They've done Cruella, which I don't know what to make of that one.
That wasn't a remake though. That was like a derivative.
Right. I'm just doing. Well, yeah, you're right. Okay, I'll go with that. Lady and the Tramp.
Mm-hmm.
They've done Alice in Wonderland, although those were, I don't know that I would count those as remakes. They've done 101 Dalmatians. They've done Pinocchio. That just came out on streaming. That's your list, I guess. So some of those are, and of course the ones we've already talked about. I'm not going to bring those back up again. But so they've got some big ones. They tend to be the same big ones that were big when they were in cartoon form, and they haven't been able to revive or they haven't been able to grow the stuff that was kind of small when it was in cartoon form already.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Little Mermaid was already big. So, like I said, 80-20. 80% chance it's huge. 20% chance there's fish down there giving the taking a fin and putting their little fin fists up in the air. And I say, well, this changes the ball game.
Indeed.